are flooding you with the faces of universal title this week. So thank you guys for allowing me to be on today. I am talking about chapter 10, so still in the second law of make it attractive. And this chapter is how to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. So the big idea on this chapter is that bad habits don't just change because we're going to try harder. They're all about changing the story that we are telling ourselves and making them more attractive to our brain and to our motivation. So, the first example that the book talks about here is the bad habit of smoking. So, it really is just talking about how when people want to quit smoking, they can't just be like, okay, I'm going to quit. They have to tell their brain why they're quitting, change the story so that that habit is going to lose the power that it's holding over them, because successful change happens when the meanings change. So instead of telling yourself, well, I have to smoke to be social, tell yourself, I don't need it to be social. I can be social in other ways. I need it to relieve stress. It's not going to actually relieve your stress, because after a while you're not doing it to relieve stress, you're just smoking because it's a habit of yours. And then a lot of people tell yourself, a good way to change their brain is saying, I'm not actually quitting anything because smoking doesn't make me gain anything. It does nothing for me. So I'm not actually quitting. I'm actually doing something good. Um, and so then the book kind of gets into this concept of your surface level cravings versus your deeper motives. And I think this is a really good point, that if you're going to try and change a habit, you've got to really figure out what is that. And it calls it the modern solution to your ancient desire. So that's what a habit is, the modern solution to an ancient desire. So trying to figure out, what is my surface level craving versus what is my deeper motive. So my surface level craving might be scrolling social media, smoking a cigarette, going for a run. But the deeper motive there is, I'm trying to find relief, connection, comfort, escape. And then you're trying to differentiate, is this a good habit or a bad habit based on what my deeper motive is. And so um, if it is that you're trying to relieve stress or to feel belonging, what are the different ways that you could do that other than just sitting there and scrolling on social media, smoking a cigarette, something like that? So your current habits aren't the best solutions. They're just the ones that you learned first, and different people are going to have the different habits. And so it's all about looking at the associations that you have with them, because as you go through your day, every day, your brain is constantly looking for cues based on your past outcomes and past cues and triggers. And so let's say that me and Alan both walk into the kitchen. That's our cues that we're walking into the kitchen. Well, if I have a bad habit and my now habit is to grab a chocolate chip cookie, but Alan's is to grab a banana, that we had the same cue, but very different habits were built on that cue. And so it's all about just trying to figure out the craving that exists there, but what the deeper meaning is of the craving. Maybe we were both hungry, and so we're trying to change our internal state, but there's different ways that we can change that. He can change it with the orange or a banana or something, and I could change my internal state of being hungry with a cookie. So that's why it's really important to start making those associations and figuring out what actually is the deeper meaning there. Um, one of my bad habits that I'm working on fixing is that every morning when I wake up, my alarm goes off, and I've always told myself I'm not a morning person. Give me like 5 minutes after I wake up before I can actually get out of bed, start the day, talk to anybody. So my habit was that as soon as my cue, which was my alarm, went off, I immediately grabbed my phone and I started scrolling on social media. And what this was doing was starting my day super reactive, super stressful, because I mean, social media isn't like a good thing to be fueling your brain with. And then as I went through the rest of the day, every time I had like that moment of, I've got a 5 minute break or I'm about to eat lunch. What should I do? Oh, let me just scroll on social media. And I'm just causing that to affect my whole day. So once I realized that the actual habit was negative and that it was my cue was just that I just needed a couple minutes, I realized that there's other solutions to that. So instead, now I've told myself, okay, I'm not going to pick up the phone. I don't have to get out of bed yet if I need that time to wake up, but I don't have to pick up the phone. I can read. I can pet my dog. If my baby's up, I can hang out with her. There's other ways to fill that desire. And I think noticing what that is and realizing how it can affect the rest of your day is really important. So just looking at your cues, looking at the different types of responses you can give it. The next part of the chapter really gets into how to make your habits more attractive. And so the big idea here is that to make your habits more attractive, you just need to change your mindset, change the feelings that you feel for these habits. And it can be as simple as changing your wording. What you're telling your brain is what your brain is going to feel and decide is the truth. So instead of saying, oh, I have to get up, I have to go for a run, I have to make some sales calls, just change your wording from I have to I get to. And it is super powerful in your brain. So if you wake up in the morning and you're like, holy crap, this is so cool. I'm a real estate agent. My business is what I make it. So I get to wake up, I get to make sales calls, I get to build relationships, I get to potentially close more deals, and then I get to make the life for my family that I want to make. That's a really cool position to be in, but you just have to convince your brain of that. And the truth is that there can be two realities. You do have to make another call, but you also get to make another call. So whichever way you're looking at it, you're going to be able to find the evidence to support that. So changing that mindset is really important here. And that's really going to help you, I think, to shape your day and to like keep that motivation going. Another way to make the habit more attractive is using associations to build the habit. So I'm sure everybody has some type of favorite song that, like, if you play this song in the morning on the way to work, like you feel the motivation, you feel the power, you're ready to go. Mine is a song called I Am Woman. It is incredible. Go give it a listen. It's so fun to start your day. So if you know, okay, this song is going to give me my motivation, my confidence going into the day. Well, then how can we use that to benefit your other habits? So let's say you get into the office in the morning. Bobby's habit might be to go make a cup of coffee. Candace's habit might be, I'm going to hit the phones. As soon as I get into the office in the morning, that's what I do. That is my habit. Well, if Bobby is trying to change his habit, one way that the books, you don't have to, you can drink as much coffee as you want. One way that you can change that habit is by playing that motivation song. So when you get to the office in the morning, play that song and stimulate your brain with that motivation and that confidence. And then as soon as the song ends, start hitting the phones or doing your lead gen, however you do it. And then if you start doing that every single day, eventually your brain is going to start to recognize that that song means motivation. It means making calls. It means that confidence and that focus for that. So then when you have that morning that you're on your way into work and you're like, I don't want to do it today. I really don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to sit. If you play that song, your brain will eventually have that trigger to just immediately get into the mood and have the motivation to automatically just start doing it. It becomes like autopilot. You play the song and you're ready. You just start doing it. So just the last thing I want to touch on is why habits are hard to break. It's just easier to keep doing what you're doing. If you're on autopilot every day and your habits are cued by something, it's just so easy to just keep doing that rather than trying to break it. And habits are going to persist because they're easy, not because they're effective. So if you're smoking to relieve stress, if you are going to keep doing that because it's just easy. It's hard to decide, okay, if I want to relieve stress, I'm going to go work out instead. That's a hard change to make. So that's kind of all I've got. Just in closing, I think the main points of this chapter is you don't need more discipline. You just need a better association in your brain. You got to reframe how you're looking at it. So you can ask yourself, what habits am I doing only because they're an old habit that I've always done? What story am I telling my brain about these habits that are no longer serving me? And how can I make my good habits more attractive? That is all I've got for you guys today. Thank you for allowing me to be on. And I love getting to work and talk to your office. So thank you.